Hi, I'm Joe Helko, Director of Community Relations at Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, and welcome to another episode of NCSS Here for You. Today we're coming to you from the Northwestern Counseling and Support Center, Ted Mabel Family Center in St. Albans. This afternoon, what you will see is that we're going to be having 3 check presentations from the AFTERGLOW concert that took place back in September for suicide prevention awareness in our local community. This was an event that not only met but exceeded all expectations of those who put on the event. And they certainly partnered with Northwestern Counseling and all the messaging that was taken, that took place that day. It was a fantastic success for this community. And NCSS is very, very proud to have been affiliated with John Holzscheiter and Andrea Wells and this effort that they have made to raise awareness of suicide prevention in our community. So this afternoon you will see the 3 check presentations. We will also take you inside a conference room where many of the individuals that were on the planning committee, as well as some NCSS staff, will talk about what took place, what they see for the future, and really will be able to celebrate an incredible event here in our local community. So with that, we'll get started with the check presentations.
On behalf of AFTERGLOW and our son AJ Holzscheiter, who took his life on November 30th, 2018, we founded AFTERGLOW to create more awareness and prevention for suicide, and we've partnered with NCSS for local programs to help prevent and increase awareness for suicide. And on behalf of AFTERGLOW and our family, we're presenting $15,000 to NCSS to help with those programs. So thank you so much for your help and support.
And I just want to say, I can't say how much we appreciate this. But we were talking earlier, it's not just about the check, it's what you've done for our community. I think bringing us together, not only to remember AJ, but to kind of raise that awareness. And we know that a stronger community can actually help to mitigate the risk of suicide. And just your voice, your presence, bringing us all together as a community, I think is really kind of taking us in the right direction. So we appreciate that. So thank you.
Super. So on behalf of all of our sponsors and supporters and everybody that came to AFTERGLOW, you folks are who made this happen. It is our intent, and the processes have already begun for next year's AFTERGLOW to be held on September 19th, 2020 at Hardak. And we believe that we once again have Jamie Lee Thurston as our headliner, and we are eager to move forward and make it bigger and better as we progress into next year, and hopefully have other fundraising events under the AFTERGLOW name other than just the concert and music festival. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
On behalf of AFTERGLOW committee, our committee members are here with our group. And in the name of our son, AJ Holzscheiter, we are presenting $10,000 to the St. Albans Rec Department for their programs that AJ was involved in as a kid, that helped fuel his passions for various sports. He was also a volunteer at times for the rec department. And it is our pleasure from the proceeds of AFTERGLOW, which was designed and put together to increase suicide awareness and prevention, to raise funds and help create programs through the rec department and keep those going forward. So on behalf of AFTERGLOW and our family, we present the St. Albans Rec Department with $10,000 for those programs. And on behalf of our son, AJ Holzscheiter, and we are presenting a check for $2,000 to the Hardak Learn to Ski and Ride program. When we lost AJ last year, people from all over made some donations on behalf of AJ, and those funds went into the St. Albans Rec Department and the HARDAC Learn to Ski program. And with that, we raised $8,000 in donations when we lost AJ last year. This $2,000 is from AFTERGLOW, which is a music festival we put together to raise awareness for suicide and prevention. And we are donating an additional $2,000 from AFTERGLOW to the HARDAC Learn to Ski and Ride program, which was one of AJ's biggest passions, skiing. And we have partnered with the Alpine Shop, Andy and Becky Kingston in Burlington. And anybody that is signed up for the HARDAC Learn to Ski program through the St. Albans Rec Department will receive a certificate to receive a free helmet from AFTERGLOW through the St. Albans Rec Department and the Alpine Shop. And so we have a fund of $10,000 total to go towards helping new skiers have a safe adventure while they're on the mountain with a free helmet. So $10,000 from AFTERGLOW in the name of AJ Holzscheiter for those in the HARDAC Learn to Ski and Ride program. The concept for AFTERGLOW came probably within a month or so of losing AJ, and us feeling like we needed to do something to honor him and to try to make something good out of this tragic loss. And we've seen lots of different types of fundraisers when we've lost somebody in the past. A lot of those are golf tournaments and things along those lines, and AJ wasn't a golfer, and so we knew that we didn't want to do a golfing event, but I think we learned after we lost AJ that he was played a huge role in lots of gatherings and was the DJ and always spinning the tunes, as we like to say, and so it seemed to make sense that we have a music festival and that it be something that the whole entire community could get behind and enjoy and bring awareness to suicide and hopefully some prevention and some education and to try to help prevent what has happened here for any other families to have to go through. And so AFTERGLOW came from a poem that was near and dear to our family, and how it talked about life after we've passed. But AFTERGLOW also reflected upon all the times that we as a family spent out on our boat or on our deck overlooking the lake, watching sunsets and the colors that are in the sky. And AJ was always taking pictures of sunsets and shooting stars and things along those lines. And so it just kind of struck us that let's use this poem, let's use AFTERGLOW, and use that as the name of the concert. Was what we came up with, and I think now we're trying to see AFTERGLOW become synonymous with suicide prevention. Going forward. Andrea, I'm going to let you.
You're
I don't want to be the only one to talk, that talks here. So, if you want to put your 2 cents in, kick me, go right ahead.
And you're already making plans for next year?
Our intentions are to do this again. We have begun working with the city, also with our neighbors Eastview, and including them in our planning process and trying to be good neighbors. We have set September 19th, 2020 for the AFTERGLOW 2, or the next one, if you will. We're trying to keep this as close to AJ's birthday weekend, feeling that it is a great celebration of his life to do this on his birthday. I believe as we go forward, we know that there are some other families that have lost some loved ones to suicide, and we're hoping that they will be involved with us going forward, and that next year the focus isn't necessarily all about AJ, but that we include some of the other families that have gone through what we've gone through, and we team together to have an event. And we've spoken with Jamie Lee Thurston, and he is on board to be our headliner again next year. So I will put that out there, that Jamie Lee Thurston will be our headliner once again next year, and we are in the process of completing the rest of the lineup, which we hope to mix it up a little bit, so we have some different bands for next year. So that's our goal. Anything you want to add to that?
And you mentioned possibly doing some other smaller scale fundraisers as well?
We have found, I think one of the questions that you asked with Afterglow originally was tremendous support, overwhelmingly beyond our expectations of what we thought would happen. I believe that we may have caught the eye of the Vermont State Suicide Chapter and what we've done, and so I think some of our intentions are to try to team in with them next year and make this a little bigger than what it has been. And that our intentions are to have Afterglow become a full 501c3 nonprofit organization on its own, standalone. Our intentions are to create our own website that will allow us to manage Afterglow, the music festival, but also any other types of events that we do. We intend to copyright and trademark Afterglow, and I think, as I said earlier, our hope is that Afterglow becomes a brand. It's synonymous with suicide awareness and suicide fundraising, for that matter. And so there are some other events that have been thrown around. AJ was a huge Jeep fan, and we've begun talking with some local folks that are in the Jeep business, if you will, or Jeepers, and we may have a Jeep festival of some sort that's centered around raising funds for Afterglow. That is in the very initial stages, and our fingers are crossed that we'll be able to move forward with something like that, and among other ideas.
And so what, to switch over a little bit to NCSS, what will you be able to do with this $15,000? What does this mean for NCSS and the suicide prevention work?
Some of the things I think as a community, as a whole, we struggle with suicide here. And a lot of that, I think, is because there are people out there struggling, but they don't know where to access help, or they don't know what help is available. I think people don't know the warning signs to look for. So one of the things that we wanted to do was go big with this and really look at some of the models out there that we can help kind of start shifting the culture and getting people thinking about suicide, looking for warning signs, inform them about where they can go. How do you take a friend and access services with them, help them, guide them to those supports that they need. And so we've got a couple models that we're looking at. We've got mental health first aid, which is something that is we're working closely with to, again, how do we inform an entire culture of people so we can start to look out for each other. We've got You Matter, which is another model that we've looked at. I don't know if you guys can speak a little more about that.
Sure. I'm Danielle Lindley. I'm the Director of Children, Youth, and Family Services. In some of our previous conversations, we have talked about how can we partner with athletic school directors and even the medical community in looking at students who have been impacted by injury from sports, and knowing that there are impacts that maybe parents are aware of, our peers, and so how can we develop workflows that will screen for possibly depression or at risk for suicide, and begin at those doors so that we can have early intervention. We're going to be looking to continue to support, currently right now in the community we provide trigger locks and lock boxes for gun safety, so we'll continue to do things like that. We're going to continue to, we have recently started a Franklin Grand Isle Suicide Prevention Task Force, so we'll continue to use that as a mechanism to solicit community ideas and implement that within the community. We'll also be asking for more participation from community members for that. I know there are other trainings and groups if you guys want to jump in.
I'm Debbie Babby, NCSS, but I'm also on the board of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which gives me an opportunity and access to research that's being done nationally and to bring back resources to set up programs and promote education around suicide prevention and how to have a voice and be able to talk comfortably as we do with other issues with our kids around, we talk to them about sex, we talk to them about drugs and alcohol, and hopefully that some of this effort is to normalize this so we can have conversations early on so that it will be, oh my gosh, I can't talk about this and I can't ask this question type thing. So that's kind of part of my role in that whole piece.
I'm Tony Stevens, a crisis team leader here at NCSS. Along with Deb, we also facilitate a survivor of suicide loss support group that meets here in the community monthly. We've been doing that for a number of years. And any promotion or awareness of that, and we think it's a great resource, not only facilitated by professionals, but also survivors of loss ourselves.
Yes.
And the number of people that do come to that and weren't aware of it before is surprising at times, so we always like to sort of continue to offer that support for anyone that has had to go through the tragedies that you all have and many others in our community.
So also thinking about the training aspect, so we recently were accepted into a pilot for a training program called Teen Mental Health First Aid, and that's actually really exciting because, as Todd, you were talking about the importance of really recognizing signs and symptoms and teaching people in the community that it's okay to talk about suicide. This program is actually designed to teach 10th graders through 12th graders how to actually spot the signs and symptoms of mental illness, how to address suicide directly, and how to refer a friend to professional help and treatment. So this is something that we're really, really excited about. We're actually one of about 150 pilot sites throughout the country, so this is pretty exciting because we're actually helping to develop the program.
And you are?
Thank you, John. And my name is Lance Matera. I'm the team leader for our school-based clinical services.
And you've talked, I don't know if we want to repeat it here, but a little bit about the $2,000 for the Learn to Ski program and how that's combined with $8,000 in donations that were made at the time of AJ's passing. So I know Kelly was saying that there are kids who already taken advantage of this opportunity.
Right. I'm Kelly Viens, Recreation Director in St. Albans. John and Andrea decided that with the funds that were donated at the time of AJ's loss, that they were going to do something with it for the Learn to Ski program, and what they decided to do was give a helmet to every child that registered for the Learn to Ski or Ride program at Hardack through the Recreation Department. And so as you register for the lesson, you get a receipt, and you bring that down to the Alpine shop, and they give your child a helmet. They fit and give them a helmet. And a lot of times it's that one extra piece that's probably the most important piece of equipment. But parents look for boots and skis, and well, if they can get a helmet, that's great. But being able to have them start out using a helmet and one that fits them and is in good shape is awesome. It's a great start to the sport, and it will hopefully carry on.
And then you've also got $10,000, an additional $10,000 that came from the Afterglow Festival. So what will you be using those funds for?
Right. We haven't exactly decided how that's going to be used, but we deal with so many families and so many kids, and we find always in all programming there's some kids that are really disconnected from a real positive place in life, and having staff that can work with those kids and make them feel welcome, and adding programming. We now have programming every single day. Our cleaning lady asked what we have off for the holidays. I'm like, well, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. And she said, that's it? I'm like, that's it. We have kids there every single day. And that's been a huge thing, to have after school programming and then programming for kids when school is out. And we're looking to extend that and to have more free opportunities of programming. We try to keep all programming priced so that it's accessible, but more events that are free as well as looking at equipment that is fun to have and add to that programming.
Should also help keep the cost down for, those
For
programs.
general, and we do have a scholarship fund, and I can see, and I don't make all those decisions, the rec commission also looks at that, but putting it in a scholarship fund too, we never deny a kid to participate in programming or to go for a swim or to go anywhere that we're doing programming because they don't have the money.
I'd like to say that my peers across the state who work for the other agencies throughout the state of Vermont that do mental health, children, youth, and family developmental services programming, when they learned about this event, the first thing they said is, we'd like to do this in our local community. And I began to lay out for them that it isn't just a matter of flicking a switch and you have this mega event. And they began to realize just how powerful the collaboration in this community is to be able to pull off an event such as this under John's leadership. I just want to say on behalf of NCSS, and I know Todd and others have already said it, just how immensely grateful we are to the fact that, as you say, John, you took a situation and you said, is there a way that we can save one life? If you save one life, that is huge. But I believe over time you're going to save a lot more than one life. And I think with the collaboration of all the various organizations that you put together, that this is an event that's going to go forward and is going to gain a lot of traction and is going to really, really make a positive impact on helping with suicide prevention awareness in our community. And I think you're to be commended for that because, again, it's collaboration that makes these things happen. You can't do it alone. It takes a lot of different people, and to be able to do it and have the success that you had in the very first year is extremely commendable.
Well, I certainly can't take all the credit. I might have come up with the idea and ran it through the family, but there's a lot of people that gave a lot of courage and support to help make it happen. We had an amazing committee of individuals that stepped forward that have a lot of experience in event planning and connections in the community, and having the city's support was huge. Of course, my own involvement with HARDAC helped a little bit too, in that we had a venue. So, but that really is, I think, what we wanted to do is we wanted to honor AJ and try to prevent just one is what we said. And I think we learned after AFTERGLOW within a month that you had at least 2 new people in your NCSS suicide prevention programs that were directly related to AFTERGLOW. And so that really hit home with us, and that, okay, we're on the right direction. And the amount of support and people just approaching us and giving us hugs on the street, and makes it worthwhile. And we'll keep it going for the next for as long as we can, and hope to pass it off to someone to take over. I certainly don't want to do this for the next 20 years, but I think we want to see it get to a certain point, build it to what our vision of it is, and then kind of release it to it's like growing your kids, raising your kids. You get them to a point that you got to let them go. And so this is another baby of ours, and we'll get it to a point, and hopefully we'll be able to let it go. Maybe our daughter will get involved with running it, but we certainly hope that NCSS and the city and some of the other organizations within our community will help keep it going, and that it will have some perpetuity going forward.
The key word, I think, when we talk about prevention, but it's awareness and getting people to begin to talk about their concerns and their problems at an earlier stage. We know that with many mental health conditions, it takes sometimes 5 years, 10 years before people seek treatment. Think of that from the medical side. If you were struggling with something and you said, I'm going to wait 5 or 10 years before I go to see a doctor. I mean, you'd never do that. But yet people do it each and every day when it comes to mental health conditions. And if we can just get people through the awareness campaigns to begin talking, especially young people, about their concerns and that they don't lose hope. Because let's face it, it's when someone absolutely has lost all hope is when these circumstances occur. And once again, I really think, John, that with this event and other events under AFTERGLOW continuing to go forward, it will keep and resonate suicide prevention awareness in this community. The idea is that people think about it 365 days a year, just like they think about other aspects of their health. And my belief, and I think our belief in NCSS, is that that's the point that we would love to get this community, is to be able to be thinking about suicide prevention each and every day throughout the course of the year, so that people will seek the help at a much earlier stage and can turn things around in their lives.
I think the important thing, one of the things too, is that seeking help should not look any different, if we can promote it, that it's not any different than going to your medical doctor for your physical. It doesn't mean that you're going to be institutionalized. It doesn't mean that your rights are going to be taken away. It just means that there are people out there that can help you lend a hand and help you navigate through this difficult time. So I would love that message to get out there. It isn't about, it should be the same in that way.
I think that, from our perspective, I mean, we obviously think about it now 365 days a year. Our goals, our personal goals with AFTERGLOW, and understanding that there are many triggers to suicide, we had no signs. And that's when it's extremely troublesome as to how do we address this. And so for those that there are no signs, our focus was on, as Debbie had mentioned, and she's heard me say it before, we talk to our kids about sex and drugs and drinking and driving, texting and driving, and these types of things, but where suicide hasn't registered on that list. And so giving parents the tools to start talking about suicide. How do I do it? How do I bring it up? How do we do it while we're sitting on a chairlift or going to hockey practice or whatever it might be? Students talking about it amongst themselves. Those are the big triggers. Let's start talking about it when there aren't any signals, signs, and put it out there. And then the other focus was on athletes. AJ was an athlete, and it was due to his athletic injuries that we believe led to him taking his life. And so having the coaches be aware, and the athletic directors and physical therapists that are working with students that have suffered injuries that take them off the field, away from their sports that they've been so focused on, and is a huge part of their social life. That if they're in a position or a situation where they may lose the ability to go back onto the ice or back onto the field or snow, that somebody is thinking, how is this going to impact them mentally, socially, and that they become aware that suicide could be a trigger in an individual that never ever would have thought of it ever before. And that's what we believe is the case with AJ. And so, those are amongst all the other areas that are focused or triggers for suicide. Those are the two areas that we want to see developed. And as we go forward with AFTERGLOW and other families, we'll incorporate other messages. But that's what we're hoping to accomplish with what we've done.
And I think that awareness being raised, as everyone's been talking about, is huge. And I've always been proud of NCSS and the programs and the efforts that they've put forth in the community. But to have something this powerful and public that comes from the community, that comes from families directly, that really wasn't about us in any way. We kind of came on board. But to have it from you all means so much. It's just another level of validity, I feel like, showing that it's okay to talk about this stuff. This is normal stuff. This isn't conversations that mental health agencies have. This is everyday stuff, and it's okay to talk about. And you can't, it's really hard to quantify or measure that. You know, we're sure that you've saved lives already, but simply just the way that you've gotten the conversation going and sharing the stories to such a large group of people and normalizing the conversation that day alone, not only leading up to that day and moving forward is huge, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah, second that.
Would anyone like to share anything else before we convene that maybe hasn't been discussed, that you think is important?
I don't know if any of our committee members want to express their involvement, why they got involved, or anything along those lines. They're more than welcome to do that. Certainly, it wasn't just me and Andrea that did this. We had the help of a number of people. So we're happy to have you guys express your opinions and thoughts and share the whole thing if you want to. But I don't want to put anybody on the spot that doesn't want to be on camera talking either. Okay. As we're wrapping this up, I'll just say thank you for everybody for taking the time this afternoon to be here. Messenger, Channel 15, all the folks from NCSS and our committee members, the city that came up to recognize and put the polish on our efforts and what we've done to help make it a big deal, because it is a big deal to us. The more that we can make people aware of what we're trying to do with Afterglow, the better. So, on behalf of two of us and Dawn and our family, thank you and thank you.
No, I did want to say just briefly that just a thanks to Tony personally and the NCSS team for what they did for us after, when we lost AJ. I know the awareness and the prevention is the most important part, but the support that we got in a time of need was huge, and it's it meant a lot, and it was just really helpful, and they're just a great group, so I appreciate you guys being here.
I want to thank everyone for being here this afternoon and sharing in the final outcome of Afterglow and the incredible donations that were made to the three organizations this afternoon. I also want to thank Michelle Monroe from the Messenger, who led the discussion in the conference room as well. As you heard and saw today, this was an incredible success. And very importantly, it's an opportunity to raise awareness about suicide prevention in our local community. And as was discussed throughout the show today, this is something that we're hoping becomes conversation 365 days a year, because it is critically important to help those who feel that they have lost all hope. So with that, I'd like to say, once again, I thank everyone for being here this afternoon. I will be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You. You can learn more about all NCS programs and services by logging on to ncssinc.org. I'm Joe Helko, and I'll be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You.